What happens when the very people who laugh at someone's strength suddenly realize they've been mocking the wrong person all along? Imagine a group of arrogant bullies, loud and cruel, thinking they could humiliate a quiet woman in front of everyone. They didn't know that woman was none other than Valentina Shevchenko, the legendary fighter known not just for her skills, but for her unshakable spirit. Within moments, their laughter would turn to fear, their arrogance to regret, and their cruelty to desperate pleas for mercy. This is not just a story about strength, it's a story about respect, about courage, and about how one woman's calm silence spoke louder than 100 insults. Stay with me till the end, because what happened that day would leave everyone in the room with a lesson they'd never forget. It was supposed to be a normal evening at the local gym. The place was buzzing with noise, the clashing of weights, the thumping of gloves against punching bags, and the chatter of people winding down after a long day. In one corner, Valentina Shevchenko quietly wrapped her hands, preparing for a light training session. She wasn't there to show off, she wasn't there to intimidate, she was simply there because training was her way of life. Calm, disciplined, and focused. But across the room stood a group of young men, the kind who carried their pride like a heavy chain around their necks. They thrived on belittling others, and today their eyes landed on Valentina. "Look at her," one of them sneered, nudging his friend. "She thinks she's tough because she can throw a few punches." Another chuckled, his voice dripping with mockery. "Come on, man, she's small. I bet I could take her down in seconds." They laughed, their voices echoing through the gym. Some people glanced at Valentina, curious to see if she'd react. But she didn't. She tied her wraps carefully, her face calm, almost as if she didn't hear them. That silence, that composure, only made the bullies bolder. One of them walked closer, standing just a few feet away. "Hey, fighter girl," he called out loud enough for everyone to hear, "why don't you show us some moves? Or are you scared we'll embarrass you?" The gym quieted. Everyone knew who Valentina was. Her name alone carried weight. But these boys didn't care about names or titles, they only cared about feeding their fragile egos. Valentina finally looked up, her gaze steady but not angry. "I didn't come here to fight you," she said softly. "I came here to train." The leader smirked, mistaking her composure for weakness. "Oh, don't worry, we'll make it easy for you." He raised his fists clumsily, bouncing on his feet like a caricature of a boxer. His friends roared with laughter, egging him on. And so the mocking began. They circled around her, pretending to throw slow punches, shadowboxing like clowns, making jokes about her stance and size. They thought the room was laughing with them, but in reality, most people were watching in silence, uncomfortable with the cruel display. Valentina didn't flinch, she didn't argue, she simply waited. And in that silence, a tension began to build, because those who knew her knew, sooner or later, the bullies would push too far. And they did. One of them lunged forward suddenly, reaching to shove her shoulder, a playful smirk on his lips. "Come on, champ," he said mockingly, "show us what you got." In that instant, the entire gym shifted. Valentina moved with the grace of a predator. The moment his hand reached for her, she sidestepped so smoothly that the bully stumbled forward, his smirk disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Before he could recover, she tapped his arm lightly, just enough to unbalance him, and he dropped to the mat, stunned. The room went dead silent. His friends froze, their laughter caught in their throats. For the first time, they looked at Valentina not as an easy target, but as someone far beyond their understanding. "Whoa, whoa," one of them stammered, holding up his hands. "We were just messing around." But Valentina didn't speak. Her silence was heavier than any punch she could throw. She simply looked at them, her eyes sharp, her presence overwhelming. The leader, embarrassed, tried to laugh it off. "Come on, that was just luck. Let's really go this time." He rushed forward faster than before, but to Valentina it was slow, too slow. With a simple pivot, she caught his momentum, gently swept his leg, and in a heartbeat, he was flat on his back, gasping for air. Now the others panicked. Two of them tried to grab her at once, thinking numbers would save them. But Valentina's training wasn't about brute force, it was about precision. She slipped between them like water, redirecting their strength against each other. Within seconds, both were on the ground, groaning in disbelief. The gym erupted, not in laughter, but in stunned applause. People who had remained silent before now cheered, not because they enjoyed the bullies' humiliation, but because they witnessed justice. The bullies scrambled up, their bravado gone, their faces pale with shock. One by one, they stuttered apologies. "We didn't mean it. We were just kidding, please, no more." Valentina finally spoke, her voice calm and steady. "Strength isn't about mocking others. It's about discipline, respect, and control. Remember that." The words cut deeper than any strike. The bullies lowered their heads, ashamed, realizing too late the depth of their mistake. From that day on, they never mocked anyone at the gym again. They trained quietly, respectfully, and some even approached Valentina later, not as enemies, but as students, seeking to learn from the very woman they once ridiculed. And for everyone who witnessed it, that night became a story they would carry forever. A reminder that true power doesn't come from arrogance, but from humility, and that respect is something you never demand, it's something you earn. By the end, the bullies didn't just beg for mercy, they learned a lesson that would change them forever.